right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 671 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern Atlanta Falcons football, and we're going to touch on what you see here on the screen, Coach Arthur Smith. We're going to talk about the true test that they have to deal with going into the rest of the season because they got punched in the mouth. I mean, there's no other way around it. They got beat up a little bit. The offensive line, absolutely got beat up. We're going to talk about that. And he has a lot of thinking to do. Maybe he already thought about it. Maybe he thought about it a couple steps ahead because at the end, in the middle of the fourth quarter, it looked like he was pondering on the next game and realized what he got in front of him as far as the offensive line. That is a run blocking offensive line. They could do nothing for pass blocking. And to be honest with you, this is going to be a long season if that keeps up. So those guys in the front offensive line have to do some things. We'll talk about that. But today I am extremely excited because Georgia Southern done very well for themselves in conference play. And I'm going to talk about that as well. So it's a little bit of an up and down episode. But first, I'm going to talk about stock up, stock down. You know, every Monday I do stock up, stock down. When we talk about whose stock is going up, whose stock is going down as far as whatever Georgia Southern or Atlanta or maybe just one of those teams are doing when it comes to what they're doing throughout the week or what they did in the previous game. So I'm going to get into all that, and hopefully you guys will check this out. If this is your first time here, welcome. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Also, I could be found on Twitter at BF Baller, or they call it X now, and the website is firstandframerates.com. If you're looking at this on YouTube or Rumble, I am trying to sort some things out. I just want to get some stats on the board real quick for this one person. Definitely going to be talking about the stock up. He's going to be our stock up individual of the week. Excellent job by this one particular player. And it's not nobody who you think it is. Because like I said, most of the time, when I do stock up, stock down, it's usually a player that done well, that doesn't get enough recognition, probably done a something here and there that stood out. But you look at the guys like a Mark Stampley, who led the team in tackles for Georgia Southern. You look at Deshaun Davis, who did a pretty good job as well on defense. You look at the offense at Caleb Hood with over 100 yards. And the other guys who caught passes. I mean, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys catch footballs in this game. Even Davis Brin with the bounce back game of throwing for 344, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. But the one person I want to talk about here, and I'm very excited to talk about him. He is a transfer that came from the FCS, and he's been showing out. See, every now and then here and there, but his stock is definitely up. I could talk about Deshaun Davis like I talk about him because he's been doing phenomenal, the guy from Wingate. But I may do a spotlight on him because I think he's more than stock up. He's exceeded expectations. I know I've been long-winded with this. The stock up person of the week is none other than, let me get him up here. Boom. You see that interception right there? Shamar Bartholomew. I know I was a little bit winded. I want to apologize for that because it's so many guys you could talk about in this game. It's absolutely plenty of guys you could talk about. But when you look at what Shamar Bartholomew is, you talk about somebody guy's stock is rising. You haven't heard much from him throughout the season. This is the fourth game in, and he started to shine. I mean, he had 2 solo tackles, also an interception. I think he had a pass breakup as well. I mean, he's just been doing a phenomenal job. And it just showed out in the Ball State game. And this interception pretty much shut the door on any chance that Ball State had to actually think they was going to score a touchdown. They went to one of their bigger tight ends. They have a 2 tight end set that's actually, pretty prominent. Got some yards on the Georgia Bulldogs, but not against the Georgia Southern Eagles. Georgia Southern basically shut this team down. And this is one of the bigger plays of the game where you didn't expect this coming from a guy who's defending a bigger tight end. You can look at it on the screen here. A bigger tight end, and he just went up there and grabbed the ball like he was the receiver. Phenomenal play for Shamar Bartholomew. First career interception as a Georgia Southern Eagle. Glad that he is over here with us. And the secondary overall for the Georgia Southern Eagles is actually really, really good. Phenomenal job that these guys been doing. And don't let it get you twisted or whatever. Think about this outside of the Wisconsin game, which really wasn't the defense's fault. This defense has been lights out, absolutely lights out. And we're just going to be talking about these guys for the rest of the season. And when we could talk about conference play, and I'm definitely going to get into that later on in the show. All right, the other thing I want to talk about here is stock down. And if you've been watching the Falcons game, you already know where I'm going at with this. Stock down, absolutely. It's the offensive line, but I'm really kind of disappointed in these two guys. Not number 72. I mean, I can't pronounce his name. If you see looking at the screen, I don't know. But these two guys here, Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry, my God, you guys are like a turnstile throughout the Lions game. And I know they're not the reason why the Lions sacked Desmond Ridder 7 times, but they definitely contributed to about 5 of them. And it was pretty rough for the offensive line. Stock down, definitely offensive line for the Atlanta Falcons. I know they're great at run blocking, but they couldn't even get the run going. That's how bad it was. And I would love to see these guys bounce back when they go play overseas. Maybe that's what they need to get away. And hopefully that works out. But stock down, Caleb McGarry and Jake Matthews, 2 guys who've been paid pretty well by the team. And I will expect them to do better going down the road. But I just think they was caught off guard. I mean, that's the only thing I could think about. They were caught off guard, but they have to do better because without them, the entire team looked lethargic. You couldn't get the run game going. I know there were times when Desmond Ridder was patting the ball a little bit too long. He didn't get out the pocket, but he didn't have it was times he didn't have no time to throw the ball. I mean, 1-2 seconds, he was already pressured. So like I said in episode 668, it starts in the trenches. You gotta have guys in the trenches that's either rather to block the defensive guys or guys that's going to get through the offensive guys. If you can get that going, it's going to be a long day for the opposition. But if it's the other way around, it's a long day for us. So that's basically what it is. Stock up, stock down. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Really, really disappointing. All right, let's get back into the actual show. The true test for the Falcons is what happens from here on out. When you talk about Georgia Southern, oh goodness, I'm so hyped about Georgia Southern, I forgot about, I'm not talking about them now. When you talk about the Atlanta Falcons and what they've done, 2-1 so far this season, not bad overall, all things considered, but they need to find a way to get a team out of rhythm when they're ready to tee off on our quarterback. And I think that Coach Arthur Smith realizes this. And this is going to be the biggest test for him. And the reason why I say that is because last year, the year before, you had excuses. Salary cap issues. You couldn't get the right personnel in here that you wanted. You was working with what you had. And I'm not saying he's doing a bad job, but this is going to show us what he's made of because lo and behold, he should have went 7-10 out of the first 2 seasons. I mean, dang, Jordan just fell. Dang, man, Jordan just fell. Man, that sucks. Nevertheless, Jordan just fell over here on my rack right here. But nevertheless, you shouldn't have went 7-10. We all know this at this point. We can look back and say, all right, they did a phenomenal job getting these guys together and ready to go. And they should have won probably maybe 3 to 4 games last 2 seasons. Now, this is your team. This is your team that has the guys here that you want, the guys that you put in place, the money that you spent to bring these guys in. And I know that for the most part, the team itself is not doing a bad job. You see what the defense did. Jesse Bates actually got an interception. There was one place where Richie Grant was turned around, and that caused the big touchdown play. Now, the other touchdown, the defense was just tired because we couldn't move the ball. But when you look at all things considered, we gave up one big play. I can deal with that. In the world of football where there's so much going on, where the game is catered to the offense, if you give up one big play per game, I think that's something we can live with because the NFL wants big plays damn near every 3rd or 4th play. I mean, that's just how the NFL is. They don't want defense doing anything. So even the score said 20-6, it looked really bad because the way the offensive line did not protect and did not help with the run. But when you look at the defense themselves, The defense did not do a bad job. It's just you can't keep putting them out there on the field so many times. They're going to give up points. You got to sustain some drives. And like I said, one big play to the tight end, it was like a 45-yarder for a touchdown. I can live with one big play per game. You know, and you know, if we was able to move the ball, we would have been able to make some things happen. And I will say this, like I said this last year, the Falcons defense has been holding teams between 17 and 20 points. I've been saying this since week 3 of last year. If Marcus Mariota, we get good quarterback play out of him, we could have won more games. Same thing I feel like with this team here. You get good play out of Desmond Ridder, I still believe this team could go 14-3. I still believe that this team could go, 12-5. I still believe they can go 11-6. And I'm not saying it because the team's is good, but the schedule of the Falcons is extremely easy. We're not playing any teams that's like top tier. The Vikings just fell off. I don't know what they're going to be looking like. The Jets don't have Aaron Rodgers. We're not going to be playing them. I think right now our biggest test, and I'm looking at it right now, our biggest test for the season obviously is going to be the Saints because we play the Saints twice every year. But you're looking at what? You got the Jaguars and the Texans, and then you have the Washington Commanders. The Buccaneers look pretty good, but they're rivals, so it's not going to be that big of a gap. Same thing with the Saints, not big of a gap. The Cardinals look good without Kyler Murray. The Titans are whatever. The Vikings look like a threat, but they're falling apart. The Jets don't have Aaron Rodgers. We just beat the Panthers. The Colts and Anthony Richardson is a big question mark. And why would we talk about the Chicago Bears? We saw what they're about. We saw what they're falling apart themselves. So this team, if you want to say what other games we can lose, we'll probably lose against we have a chance to lose against the Jaguars and the Texans and maybe the Commanders. But I think we'll win 2 of those 3 games, or probably all 3. And maybe 1 against the Saints. This is why I say that. So this is a test. Can he make this team bounce? Can he bounce this team back by having such an abysmal game and get back on track to what they did back in week 2, what they did in week 1? Because this is just one game, guys. Just one. It's not the end of the world, and I think these guys can make something happen, but it's all up to them to see if they can do so. It's all up to the coach. Can the offensive line, can he get those guys ready to go once again? So I'm just going to leave it at that. And finally, Georgia Southern goes into conference play. They soar into conference play at 3-1. Could have been 4-0. Davis Brent, I just wish he didn't throw those interceptions. We had Wisconsin on the ropes for at least a quarter and 2 quarters in like 3 minutes. So it is something to behold that we're going into conference play. We just saw Coastal Carolina lose to Georgia State. How about Georgia State? I don't too much care for the team, but I got to respect them. 4-0 on the season, 1-0 in conference play. I expect that to be a really big game on Thursday, later on in the month of October, when we play these guys at Paulson. It's going to be a huge game. But nevertheless, you see what Georgia Southern done. They handled Ball State very well. They beat up on the Citadel, and we beat up on UAB, which we gave UAB too much of a rope to let them guys feel like they were doing something. We should have knocked on the door and took them out, but we gave them an extra yard. They got some momentum, extra down off of a penalty, got more yards, and they end up getting some momentum. But nevertheless, 40-3, Georgia Southern beat the Ball State Cardinals, and they're going into conference play looking really, really good. This team looks really good. You're talking about a team going up against Coastal Carolina this Saturday. Then we're going at James Madison, UL Monroe, and then we play Georgia State. We're really looking at a game where James Madison, Georgia State, and Marshall are probably going to be some tough games. Appalachian State always play us tough. If I look at this, the way Georgia Southern playing, it's going to be very difficult to beat this team. They're looking very good, and I'm extremely impressed how the way things are going, because after the Wisconsin game, we could have been going downhill, but the way to bounce back going into Muncie, Indiana, winning that game the way we did, I'm almost certain we put Coastal Carolina on notice. You thought what Georgia State did to you was nice. I think Georgia Southern already tired of this team already beating them, especially the way they beat us last year. I don't think this defense is going to let that happen. I think this defense is going to be really ready to go. And Grayson McCall he's going to have a long day with these guys. I mean, Deshaun Davis, Latrell Bullard, the rest of these guys up front, they are nothing nice. They're getting at the quarterback. The secondary's looking good. I would be highly surprised if Coastal Carolina wins this game. I think this is the beginning of the downward trend for Coastal Carolina. Phenomenal few seasons, but I think this is the one that Georgia Southern get on a good track going into conference play. The James Madison and Georgia State game, those are going to be really good. And don't sleep on UL Monroe. Don't sleep on them as well. But going into conference play, awesome job. Love what Coach Clay Helton is doing. And I really, really appreciate, him, actually turning his team around after a loss like that at Wisconsin. That was pretty rough. But look like we're on our way. So if you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Is Georgia Southern going to do some big things in conference play? They look like they have a pretty decent chance to run the table or at least probably lose one more game. I'm still scared of that Marshall game. I've been scared of the Marshall game since last year. But the rest of the games, Georgia State is surprisingly good right now, but I don't think they're going to beat us in Paulson. Not the way this team is playing. I'll be extremely surprised. So let me know what you guys think. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. Also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. The Twitter handle or the X handle is VF Baller. And the website is firstandframerates.com. Firstandframerates.com. If you guys want to check out the website, you can go over there and donate and support the channel. It really would appreciate it. I may start putting, more donation avenues up. I don't really like to do that too much, but I know it's a few people been asking, so I think some is down already in the description. I may put some on the ticker as well. All right, y'all. I'm going to get up out of here. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.